Antonio Brown, according to Bruce Arians, there was a lot of rumors that he may end up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They already have Chris Godwin. They already have Mike Evans. Brashad Perryman may or may not return. The tight end, O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. They have pretty good pass-catching talent for Tom Brady. But based on the Brady-Antonio Brown relationship, there was some talk that Antonio Brown might follow Tom Brady wherever he goes, and that was effectively shot down by Bruce Arians. So we don't know what's going to end up happening with Antonio Brown's investigation into his alleged sexual assault. Remember, that was a big story in July and August of last year as we ran up to the start of the NFL season. Antonio Brown was one of the biggest stories in the league. He stayed out of trouble of late, but when I see that Bruce Arians doesn't want to bring in Antonio Brown, even for a veteran quarterback like Tom Brady, it makes me believe that Antonio Brown's career increasingly is more likely to be over than it is to have anything left to it. And if that is true, then it's certainly a disappointing and difficult way for Antonio Brown's career to come to a close. Would you guys agree with me that based on that, I mean, if you are a head coach who seems like a kind of live or let live guy, it's not like Bruce Arians is kind of renowned for his being a strict disciplinarian. And if you've got a aging quarterback that already has a really good relationship with Antonio Brown, but more importantly, has got a reputation as a guy who's all about business and can get people to buy in and become part of a team unit, even if they have a lot of diva tendencies. To me, if the Bucs and Bruce Arians and Tom Brady are saying thanks but no thanks to Antonio Brown, it's almost like Antonio Brown's NFL career is over. You get that sense, Danny G?
Well, I'm sure behind the scenes, AB is still texting his boy Tom Brady saying, "Come on, dog, get me in there. Talk to Bruce." But Arians' quote yesterday was, "There's no room and probably not enough money. It's not going to happen. It's not a fit here." So with all things considered, I know that he went on his apology tour. It felt so forced because, and we predicted this on our show, he was going to sit back without the checks rolling in, and that's when it was going to hit him.
No doubt.
Like, oh, dang.
Not only the checks, the attention.
Yeah, but more so the checks, because his bottom line, we know he's all about the money. Remember his really, really bad music video? When those checks stop coming in, boy, that serves you a big piece of humble pie. And that's exactly what went down with Antonio Brown. And he's going to need a couple more months of staying completely out of trouble for a team to take a third flyer on him.
But I just think if the team like Bruce Arians and Tom Brady, that seems almost like an ideal place for him to go. If those guys are saying thanks but no thanks, I think it's hard for me to believe that there are going to be any options for Antonio Brown going forward. And that's without even knowing whether he's going to have to serve any suspension for a violation of the NFL's personal conduct policy related to the investigation they undertook. Remember, we still don't know what they've determined on an NFL perspective, and I think they're holding it because they'd prefer not to have to release any kind of review of Antonio Brown's behavior, because inevitably when you look into allegations like these, some people are upset if you don't believe everything that's said. It's kind of a minefield for the NFL in general. So unless he's signed by a team, I think they probably don't want to release the findings of that investigation. But when you hear Bruce Arians and in consultation in conjunction with Tom Brady say thanks but no thanks, does it mean to you Antonio Brown's career is likely over, Dub?
I mean, it certainly doesn't seem good for Antonio Brown, but I think the fact that you just laid out that the NFL hasn't released their official, punishment on him, that's got to be a huge reason why teams aren't really even considering him, because they're probably sitting back thinking, okay, we can sign this guy for a year or two, but how many games are we actually going to get out of him? Because that's kind of a big risk you take, signing a guy who has been under investigation and to not know what his punishment is, if he's even going to be able to even play after you sign him. That's got to be something that's, turning teams off even more so to Antonio Brown.
Not only that, I mean, the team is going to get ripped by a large segment of society if they make the decision to sign him. So if you sign him and you suddenly find out he's going to be sitting out for 4 or 6 weeks, you have to hope that he stays out of trouble during that 4 or 6 weeks while he's serving the suspension before he's even able to take the field with you. I thought there was a decent chance Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be interested in him, even with their depth at wide receiver. And the fact that they aren't, to me, is a really, really bad sign for him. Eddie, you were and are a Pittsburgh Steeler fan. You paid attention to a lot of Antonio Brown's antics and have followed his star-crossed career trajectory ever since he left the Steelers. Does this feel like it's close to the door shutting on Antonio Brown's career? Not to mention, by the way, I think he's like, what is he, 32 or 33 now? He's not even that young 31. Of a guy at this point.
He's 31.
Yeah, turning 32 soon, isn't he, though?
Let's see. July 10th is his birthday.
Yeah, so before the season starts, he'll turn 32.
I'm not ready to close the door, actually, on Antonio Brown yet. I actually believe Bruce Arians. I don't think he's a fit in Tampa Bay. They've got good wide receivers. They don't need to bring in a guy who has been a cancer in other locker rooms to mess up what's going on, even if Tom Brady maybe vouches for him a little bit. But I've got to say, honestly, I'm surprised Antonio Brown's name has not been mentioned. And I know what's going on in the world, but still, he's been pretty quiet for a longer period of time than I thought he was capable of being. I don't know if his cell phone service got turned off or what's going on. But, I mean, look, he's obviously not going in a good direction, but he has been quiet of late. I think maybe reality is starting to set in for him. I'm not ready to say that he's not got a chance at this point yet, but it's not going in a good direction.
He has, to his credit, ever since the police video. And did he officially get arrested? I can't even remember. Did he get arrested in that delivery man incident that they had? They had somebody bringing gear to his house. And
yeah, I believe he turned himself into police.
Yeah, okay.
Eventually.
So he did get arrested there. But since that incident, he's pretty much been out of the public eye. We'll see whether that continues. Roberto, would you bet on Antonio Brown playing in another NFL game or not?
Actually, I would bet. He's only 31 years old. I think because of the age. I think he'll be back. If he was older, then I think he would definitely be done. Can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, I think he might be back.
32 years old in July. I just, in general, the number of guys who dominate after the age of 32 or 33 in the NFL is pretty low at the wide receiver position. Now, you can say, well, he's had a lot of time off, which is certainly accurate here recently. What kind of shape is he in? We don't really know, but he hasn't been hit in a while. I really thought if he was going to get a chance, it would be with Brady and the Bucs, notwithstanding. It is true, as Eddie said, that they have a pretty stacked wide receiver core already, but can you imagine if they had Antonio Brown, if they had Chris Godwin, and if they had Mike Evans? That would truly be maybe the greatest receiving core ever. If you think about 1, 2, and 3, certainly the best receiving core in modern history, and by far the best receiving core that Tom Brady would have ever thrown to.